Hello everyone and welcome to today's YouTube video where I'm going to make Rocky Road cakes. So if you haven't made them before, this is the way that I normally make them. So I hope you enjoy. Just going to grab an apron on and then we will get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is cut out a square of greaseproof paper and just line my tin. Like so. Now I know it's only rough, but it's just to lift out the mixture once it's cold, sorry. So the next step is going to be weighing out the chocolate ready for melting. Now you need 200 grams of chocolate. In one size dairy milk bar there is 200 grams, sorry. So you need basically a bar and a half of dairy milk. So I'm going to break that up into a saucepan because then there's not much washing up. You can do this, you know, and it will just save you having to wash a load of stuff up. So I have already washed my hands, just to point out, so I'm going to quickly break up the chocolate. You can actually do it in the wrapper. I find sometimes if you do it just in the wrapper, it makes it a bit easier for you, and basically, I don't know really, I just break it up in the wrapper because I think it makes it slightly easier. So what we now need is 125 grams of butter. Now you can weigh this or you can go by guessing. Now, there are marks on it to say where 50 grams are, so what I'm going to try and do is go by those marks and basically measure it out as though I was just going to use the marks. So if I just do that, so I need 125. I think one of these is 250, so basically half a block of butter. It sounds like a lot, it is quite a lot, but I promise you, it makes it worth it. So, about half of a block of butter. You can soften it if you want to. Obviously, in this case, it's being melted, but I'm just going to break it up a bit so that it melts a bit better. I'm going to put that in the pan as well. And then you want 3 tablespoons of golden syrup. Now, I have these things, one of which is a tablespoon, and I bought, because I thought it would be easier, I bought Asda's squeezy bottle of golden syrup because I find it easier, if I'm honest, because if you buy it in the tin, you may find that it's really awkward to scoop around and get it out. So I'm just going to do 3 of these. Obviously, you get a full sugar rush from doing this because golden syrup is basically full of sugar. So that's 3. If I put a tiny bit in as an extra and just borrow the knife to scrape the rest of it out. Now, before I actually melt this, I'm going to weigh out my biscuits. Reason being is because if you melt chocolate and then you break up your biscuits and crush them, you'll find that you may burn your chocolate. Now you need 200 grams of Rich Tea biscuits. So I bought McVitie's own brand. You can buy any normal ones. So for the purpose of today, we are using McVitie's own brand. Obviously, Asda's own brand would be cheaper if you want to do this on a budget. Where did that one go? There. So I think this pack was 300 grams. So you need almost the whole pack. 210, 202. Probably not going to get much more than that. So 202, almost the whole pack, probably about a third of the pack left. So that's 202 grams of biscuits, which you can put into a bag and crush. Ooh, preferably not dropping the bag, but as you know, going on the inside, it should be fine. Now the next part of the video is just bashing them. So in fact, I'm just going to make sure I got some of the air out of there so it doesn't explode when I bash them. And then you just, let me move that out of the way, grab a rolling pin and just bash. I'm not going to do them completely because obviously you want a bit of a mixture of crumb and powder. So that's your biscuits. You will also need marshmallows, which I don't need till the end, so we're going to put those in once this mixture has melted. So I'm using the smallest rim just because I'm not sure how quickly everything will melt. So I'm just going to ignite the gas. There we go. So that is now on and it will start melting. Now obviously once this is all melted you'll need to take it off your heat so that you can you know what I mean, so that you can add your chocolate to your biscuits and marshmallows. So really quickly, you should use a heavy base pan. I don't know if we have one. Sorry if the pan keeps knocking against itself. It does do that on this one. But basically you need to melt the butter as well as the chocolate. So the golden syrup will sort of melt. Well, the golden syrup's liquid anyway, so it's just the butter and the chocolate that you need to melt. While I do that, I'm going to really quickly measure out 100 grams of mini marshmallows. Now obviously you want to be careful that you don't burn it. Apologies for kicking the camera there. You want to be careful you don't burn your mixture. Just in preparation, there you go. 100 grams of marshmallows. And yeah, you just want to make sure you're stirring constantly. If it starts to make a frying noise, turn it down a little bit, because obviously you don't want to, obviously you do not want to burn your chocolate, because obviously with Cadbury's chocolate, it's one of the best brands in my opinion. So you want to make sure that you're just melting very carefully, not burning your chocolate, and then it will turn into some lovely shiny, don't know if you can tell how shiny that is. I'll move you a little bit closer and down a little bit. Obviously as you can tell it's nice and shiny. You don't want to over melt it, that's not even a word. You want to make sure you're not burning any of it, because obviously in this case it's sacred to you and you don't want to melt / burn too much of your mixture. So that's semi-melted, we're getting there anyway. Certainly, you know, not going to be the greatest, but I do like a bit of milk chocolate. You can use dark chocolate as well, or white chocolate. I've never tried this with white chocolate, so if you want me to try that in a video sometime, all you have to do is ask me in the comments below and I'll see what I can do. Not as shiny, I will admit. It looks like it's separating a bit, which is slightly worrying. But I'm sure once it gets back in the... That's interesting. I've never had that happen. Which is, we'll melt it in there because I just think it's easier. Now I'm going to need my spoons again. Give them a quick wash because I can't allow any moisture in the chocolate. And I'll tell you what I've also learnt. If, like me, you're silly and you use a wooden spoon instead of using, for instance, still moisture in there. If you're like me and you're silly and you used a wooden spoon instead of a palette knife or whatever you can call them, then you'll understand why chocolate did what it did, because apparently there could be moisture in a wooden spoon. Who knew? So when I used I need to get the chocolate in there really, because the chocolate's going to take a while to melt. Butter is starting to melt now, which is a good thing. Basically, I've just been to get a load of chocolate from the shop, to replace what actually happened beforehand. So we will just have to wait and see what happens with this one. But yeah, basically, don't do what I did the first time round. Don't get moisture in your mixture, because you will work out that it doesn't work, as I've just found out. So I'm going to get my spatula out in just a second. I know this probably seems like a really stupid, long-winded way, but I promise you, if you do what I did last time, you will waste all that chocolate that I just did. However, I am probably going to try and salvage it a bit later on, but for the purpose of this video, I don't do that. And as my chocolate did cost quite a lot the first time, and I've ruined it, I'm going to attempt to do a better job this time. Now obviously you can see at the moment the chocolate is melting. I'm just going to move you across so you can see a bit better. Now this is roughly 300 grams, the next chocolate I'm putting in. Obviously I've already weighed out my mushrooms. Why did I just say mushrooms? Marshmallows, I apologise in advance. I've just weighed out my marshmallows, as you guys already know. So that was the chocolate, the butter, and I'm just putting the golden syrup in for round 2 of how to make Rocky Road. Try and break up your chocolate better than I have, but for the purposes of this I was rushing because this is attempt number 2. Try and hold your bowl steady. Yes, it will be hot, pre-warning. It's not too hot on my fingers at the moment, but as it warms up it will obviously get hotter and hotter and hotter. So, and you just want to melt it until all of it melts, and then when it comes to mixing, you can hear the water bubbling underneath, just as a sideline note. As you get closer and closer to it all being melted and ready to be mixed together with your biscuits and other stuff, I'm just going to do that's on the lower setting. But yeah, you can probably hear it. But yeah, please do not do what I did the first time. And if yeah, it just bubbles away underneath. So just make it sure it's completely melted. And yeah, do not use a wooden spoon, as I found out. Because obviously the longer you heat it for, the more it separates. So, top tip for me, do not use a wooden spoon and do not do it directly on top of heat, because as I just found out, you will screw up your chocolate. Now I am going to see what I can make with the other chocolate, if I can salvage it. If I can't salvage it, then it's money down the drain for me, which is totally fine. But yeah, I'm simply stirring until it all melts, so that it's a nice, gloopy, runny consistency. And it's almost there, so I'm going to prep a bowl I can pour it into. I'm going to put this ready. Obviously, try and make sure your side isn't as wet like mine. I'm going to put my biscuits in to this bowl, and then I can add the chocolate to this bowl with a bit of luck. I'm going to put marshmallows in too, because they'll start melting once this gets to the correct consistency. Yeah, please don't do what you did last time, Hayley, and overheat the chocolate. Right, I'm going to turn that off because it's practically there. I'm going to take it off the heat and move it onto a cold hob because I don't want to do what I did last time and put it onto something that's not even hot now. I'm going to move it onto the second hob that you can see, just because if I don't, then there is a strong chance I will burn. Put it into the middle of here with some luck. Obviously it's not as bad as last time because last time it completely messed up, and we don't want that this time. So there we go. That's all of it into there. I can put that back on there for now. Right, and then I'll just mix this in together so that it forms a lovely, without getting it on the floor, preferably, Hayley. Obviously it may be really crumbly, it depends how much chocolate you manage to disperse throughout the mixture. It does say you can put more on the top. Now I am considering melting some to pour over the top because that doesn't look a lot. It does not look enough, if I'm honest, throughout the mixture. So I'm going to melt a bit extra, just so that you've got some to put over the top to hold it together a little bit. So I'm melting my last one just to put over the top of this one. Might be alright, but we'll melt the other one anyway. It saves wasting any. And Tia has very kindly come to join me to pick up any pieces that I've abandoned around. So get your tray and just tip it in. And obviously try and make sure it goes inside the paper instead of like me, and get it on the outside. Pat it down. I'm just going to press it in so that it sort of sticks together a bit more. And then I'm going to leave it to chill tonight. And hopefully in the morning it will look delish. And there we go. I'll show you the product in the morning. Okay, so it does say to leave it for a couple of hours. So if it's not quite set yet, it's because it hasn't actually been a couple of hours. But I wanted to try some, so I'm just gonna like cut into it and like attempt to get a piece out. I'm gonna put you down a minute. You can't really see much if I put you there. But we'll see. I just want to get a scoop as well, because it may come in handy for getting a piece out. Can't see one. We'll just try it. It was supposed to stay together. This one's a bit crumbly. Maybe there wasn't quite enough chocolate. Even though I did use like 400 grams. There you go. So it's just like a crummy mess. Oh, but it tastes divine. Tell me that I passed with a 2-1 degree, which is basically...
Alright, who's most likely to be the first one to die in a zombie apocalypse?
Me.